Example 1. Convert the unit 6.7 feet to inches. Now this is one of those where you may know that all you have to do is to multiply feet by 12 to get inches. But on the ones where you know how to do it, it's best to practice the dimensional analysis method so that when you get to others, when you're not sure if you're supposed to multiply or divide, that you'll know what to do. So you always start by writing down with the units where you want to start, 6.75 feet, and then you're going to multiply, and you want feet on the bottom, and then you want the units you end up with on the top. Now you're familiar with 1 foot is 12 inches, but you have a sheet that has a whole bunch of relatable conversion factors, how feet relate to inches, relate to miles, etc. So if you're not sure, you look on that sheet and you find your conversion factor. So since feet are on the bottom and on the top, those will cancel out. And to get my final answer, all I have to do is 6.75 times 12. And when I do that, I get 81, and I also have the unit inches remaining. So my answer is 6.75 feet is 81 inches. Number 2, convert the unit 2.7 miles to feet. So we always start with what we know, 2.7 miles. We're going to multiply that by a conversion factor that relates miles to feet. And you may not have this one memorized, so you go out and you look on your sheet. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. And so all I have to do is know that the miles are gone, and my answer would be 2.7 times 5,280, and I get 14,256, and now my units are in feet. So 14,256. Now notice that in both of these cases, I have a denominator of 1. Okay? And when I have a denominator of 1, I don't have to worry about dividing it at the end. This is 81 over 1, which of course is 81. Same thing here. 14,256 over 1, which is 14,256. However, sometimes the conversion factors are not exactly going to be like this, and if you have a number other than 1, it's in the denominator and you'll have to divide by it. So we'll see that in some other examples. So now I need to convert gallons to quarts. So you need to know, if possible, a conversion factor that takes gallons to quarts. So you just look at your sheet and see if you have that. Now if you don't, you could go from gallons to pints to quarts. So you may have to multiply by more than one conversion factor. So I know by looking at my sheet that 1 gallon is 4 quarts. So that's my conversion factor. 1 gallon equals 4 quarts. So I'm going to take my initial, 141 gallons. I'm going to multiply where I end up with quarts. It needs to be on top, and gallons need to be on the bottom so that my gallons will cancel out. I have 4 quarts in 1 gallon, and so all I have to do is multiply again. 141 times 4, and I know that my answer is 564 quarts. Now be sure that the units you're trying to remove, one's on the top and the other's on the bottom, and the one you want to end up with needs to be on the top. So this answer is 564 quarts. In number 4, pints to gallons. But when I look at my conversion sheet of my conversion factors, I see that 2 pints is a quart, and that 4 quarts equals 1 gallon. But I don't have one that says how many pints are in a gallon. So I'm going to have to multiply or divide twice. Watch what happens. 25.3 pints. I know I want to get over the pints, so I'm going to put that and change it over to quarts. And then I want to change my quarts, so I'm going to put a QT on the bottom for quarts, and I'm going to put gallons on the top. So we know that there are 2 pints in 1 quart. Now notice that 2 goes in the denominator. And there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon. Notice the 4 is now on the denominator. So this time, it's not just a matter of multiplying. We're going to have to multiply and divide. So I'm going to make sure my units are right. I get rid of the pints in the first multiplication. I get rid of the quarts in the second multiplication. My final answer will be in gallons, which is what they asked me to do. So I have to multiply the numbers that are there on the top. So it's a 253, and this time there's a 1 and a 1 on the top. So that's just going to be 253. But on the bottom, I have an 8. And so this is going to be in gallons. So I have to take, not 253, but 25.3 and divide it by 8 to get the number of gallons that I have. Now notice that they want me to type a whole number or a decimal to the nearest hundredth. So if this doesn't come out evenly, I have to round to 2 decimal places. So I take my 25.3 and I divide that by 8, and that gives me 3.1625 gallons. But they asked me to hundredths. That's 2 places. This 2 means that 6 will stay. So it's 3.16 gallons. Number 5, change feet to yards. We've got 16 feet. I want to get rid of the feet and end up with yards. So I've got yards on top, feet on bottom. There are 3 feet in 1 yard. So this time I've removed my feet units, and I end up with 16 over 3 yards. They asked me again, if that doesn't go evenly, to round this time to the nearest tenth. That's 1 place. Here, earlier, it was 2. So pay attention. And when I do 16 divided by 3, I'm going to get 5.33333. And they asked me to round it to only 1 place. So this 5.333 repeated will be 5.3.